Tonight we will float together through the science of health with the wisdom of Dr. William Li on onions, drifting through the hidden chemistry that makes onions medicinal, the gut microbes that awaken when onions are sliced, the quiet way onions tell damaged cells to stand down. We'll explore how onions protect your heart, strengthen your bones, guard against disease, all backed by science, all while you rest. And then, toward the end, as you float deeper into sleep, we'll whisper one ancient secret, a technique so simple yet so powerful that people around the world are watching their hair transform, thicker, fuller, growing where it once retreated, all from the humble onion, applied in a way your grandmother might have known. But science is only now proving there's nothing you need to do now. Just let your body sink. Feel the mattress holding you, every muscle softening. Relax, listen, and learn as you fall asleep. If this health learning video helps you rest, tap subscribe, comment, and hit like so others can find this calm too, but only if your eyes are still open. Otherwise, just drift. Now, let's drift into the onion and discover what it can do for you, inside and out. Imagine an onion in your hands, layers pressed together like memories, each one holding compounds that speak to your cells in languages older than words. The yellow onion, golden as afternoon light, dense with quercetin, a molecule that floats through your bloodstream like a whisper, landing on inflamed tissues, telling them, soften, rest, let go. Quercetin. That word sounds like a question, like curiosity itself. And it is curious, the way it finds cells that are burning too bright with inflammation and dims them gently. Yellow onions hold more of this than almost any food, concentrated in these papery outer skins you peel away, concentrated in the sharp layers that make your eyes water, your tears. They're not weakness, they're chemistry, sulfur compounds volatilizing into air, the same sulfur compounds that will, once you eat them, reshape your inner landscape. Sulfur, the element of transformation. In onions, it exists as organosulfur compounds, allicin, allyl sulfides, molecules that bacterial cells cannot tolerate, but your cells know how to welcome them, to use them. The balance of sulfur in yellow onions. It's like a perfectly tuned instrument, not too sharp, not too mild, just enough to wake your liver's detoxification pathways, to activate phase 2 enzymes that sweep through your system, gathering toxins, neutralizing, releasing. Breathe, and as you breathe, feel how your body already knows onions, has known them for millennia. Yellow onions as everyday anti-inflammatory food on every table, in every cuisine. Not coincidence, but wisdom. Collective human wisdom that chose this bulb, brought it from field to kitchen to body. Your ancestors ate onions, their cells changed, adapted, learned to use these compounds, and that learning lives in you now, in your DNA, in the receptors waiting in your gut. White onions, pale as moonlight, And like moonlight, they have a different quality. Milder, gentler on the palate, but no less powerful within. Their sulfur profile reduced, softened, making them allies for sensitive stomachs, for gut linings that have been troubled. White onions whisper instead of shout, and sometimes a whisper reaches deeper. Their antimicrobial effects, subtle but persistent, creating environments where helpful bacteria thrive, where harmful ones retreat. The white onion's gift is tolerance, digestive tolerance, gut tolerance. It knows some systems are tender, some microbiomes fragile, and it adjusts, offering its benefits without overwhelming. The compounds in white onions still activate your detoxification enzymes, still sweep through liver and kidney, but they do it softly, like someone tidying a room while you sleep. You wake and everything is clearer, cleaner, and you never heard them working. Now, let your awareness drift toward red, the red onion, its outer layers stained deep purple crimson, and that color is anthocyanin, plant pigments that exist at the intersection of beauty and medicine. Anthocyanins, they're what make berries blue, what make autumn leaves flame red, and in onions they concentrate, layer after layer, a wealth of antioxidant power. Your blood vessels, imagine them now, miles of tubing, carrying oxygen, carrying nutrients, carrying messages. The endothelium, that single cell thick lining inside every vessel, it's working right now, releasing nitric oxide, relaxing smooth muscle, allowing blood to flow, and anthocyanins from red onions. They protect this lining, strengthen it, help it resist oxidative damage, help it maintain flexibility. Red onions and vascular protection. It's a partnership that happens in darkness, in the microscopic spaces between cells. Anthocyanins slip into your circulation, and they find the places where free radicals are attacking, where oxidation is trying to stiffen vessel walls, and they step in between, neutralizing, protecting, allowing your cardiovascular system to remain supple, responsive, young. The antioxidant potency of red onions, it's measurable, quantifiable. In laboratories, they measure something called ORAC, oxygen radical absorbance capacity, and red onions score high, very high, meaning they can absorb, can neutralize enormous numbers of free radicals. Think of free radicals as sparks and antioxidants as water. Red onions bring the rain, sweet onions, Vidalia, Walla Walla. Their names roll off the tongue like places in dreams, and they are sweeter. Literally. Lower in sulfur compounds means less bite. More sugar, but those sugar, they're not empty. They come paired with prebiotic fibers, fructooligosaccharides, inulin, compounds your body cannot digest, but your microbes can, your gut. Imagine it, not as empty tube, but as garden. Trillions of bacteria growing, living, working, and sweet onions. They're fertilizer for the good ones, for bifidobacteria that cluster in your colon, for Akkermansia mucinifera that lives in your mucus layer. protecting, strengthening the barrier between you and the world inside you. Sweet onions feed them and they multiply, crowd out pathogens, produce compounds that signal back to your immune system all is well, stay calm, the glycemic response. That's how fast sugar enters your blood. And sweet onions, despite their name, they enter slowly. The fiber slows them, keeps your insulin steady, prevents spikes that age your cells, that glycate proteins that accelerate time's passage through your tissues. Sweet onions, they're sweet in effect, gentle, nourishing without shocking, supporting without overwhelming. Shallots, smaller, more elegant somehow, with flavors layered like sedimentary rock, and they are concentrated. More polyphenols per gram, more flavonoids. These are immune support compounds, molecules that modulate, that tune your immune response, neither too hot nor too cold. Teaching your white blood cells, your natural killer cells, to recognize real threats while ignoring false alarms. The flavonoid diversity in shallots, it's like a symphony orchestra instead of a solo instrument. Quercetin, yes, but also camphorol, myricetin, each one with slightly different actions, different receptor targets, different pathways activated. Together they create effects no single compound could. Synergy, the whole exceeding its parts. And this diversity, it means resilience, redundancy. If one pathway is blocked, others remain open. Scallions, green onions, those slender stems standing in markets like green light itself, and they are different. The green parts rich with chlorophyll, the white parts sulphurous, a marriage of above and below ground. Chlorophyll, that molecule that captures sunlight, turns it into energy, and in your body it does something similar. Supports your cells' energy production, helps hemoglobin carry oxygen, cleanses, alkalizes, and vitamin K, concentrated in those green stalks. Vitamin K that activates proteins that put calcium where it belongs, in bones not arteries, that help blood clot when needed, that support cellular health in ways science is still discovering. The sulfur compounds in scallions, they're gut-friendly, easier on the system than mature onions, making scallions a bridge for those whose digestion is healing, whose systems are sensitive. Pearl onions, those tiny spheres, and cipollini, flat Italian beauties. Each size, each shape represents concentration. The smaller the onion, often the more intense the flavonoid concentration. Cellular protection packed tight, and when caramelized, when their sugars brown and transform, the chemistry changes again. Maillard reactions creating new compounds, some with antioxidant properties of their own. The transformation of cooking, it's not destruction, it's alchemy. Now drift deeper into color itself, into what color means in onions, red onion pigments, anthocyanins. They're not decoration, they're defense systems. The plant makes them to protect its cells from oxidation, from UV damage, and when you eat them, that protection becomes yours, transfers across species, Across kingdoms of life, a plant's defense becomes your defense. Its antioxidants, your antioxidants. Inflammation reduction. That's the gift of red onions. Specific, targeted. They seek and flame tissues like salmon finding their home stream, and they calm the cytokine storm, modulate NF-κB signaling, that master switch of inflammation. When NF-κB is constantly active, your body ages faster, joints ache, arteries stiffen, but red onion compounds, they turn down that signal, not off, just down to appropriate levels. Endothelial health. This returns us to blood vessels, to that delicate lining. The endothelium is an organ, the largest organ actually, spread across all your vessels, and it's young, always regenerating, always responding to what you feed it. Red onions support endothelial nitric oxide production, that molecule that keeps vessels dilated, that prevents plaques from forming, that maintains flow. Purple onions, some call red onions purple, and they're right. The colour shifts depending on light, on pH, on how you look at them. These purple pigments, they're polyphenol signalling molecules. They enter your cells, travel to the nucleus, bind to receptors, change gene expression, turn on protective genes, turn off inflammatory ones. This is epigenetic influence, food talking to DNA, oxidative stress defense. Your cells are always balancing. Making energy requires oxygen, requires electrons moving, and sometimes those electrons escape, become free radicals, damage DNA, proteins, lipids. It's like sparks from a fire, inevitable, but manageable. Purple onion polyphenols. They increase your cell's own antioxidant production. Glutathione, superoxide dismutase, catalase, teaching your cells to protect themselves. Yellow onion coloration, that golden hue, it signals quercetin dominance. Quercetin, it's yellow. Flavonoid means bioflavonoid, means colour, and that yellow is concentrated in outer layers, in the papery skin people discard. But traditional medicine, traditional cooking, it used those skins, made broths, teas, extracting that concentrated medicine, that wisdom. It's being rediscovered now, validated by science. Immune modulation from yellow onions. This is subtle work. Not stimulation, but modulation. Your immune system. It's not supposed to be constantly active, not supposed to attack your own tissues. Quercetin helps teach it, helps it distinguish self from other real threats from imagined ones. It stabilizes mast cells, those cells that release histamine, that trigger allergic reactions. Yellow onions, they calm the system without suppressing it. White onions, their lack of pigment is not absence but presence. Presence of sulfur emphasis. When the plant doesn't spend energy on pigments, it spends it on sulfur compounds instead, on allicin precursors, on compounds that become medicine in your liver. Your liver, that dark red organ beneath your ribs, it has two phases of detoxification. Phase 1 makes toxins reactive, dangerous briefly, and phase 2 neutralizes them, makes them water-soluble, allows them to leave. White onions support phase 2, the critical phase. They provide sulfur, the raw material for glutathione, your master antioxidant, the one your cells make themselves. Every cell contains glutathione. Recycling it, regenerating it, using it to neutralize thousands of threats. And sulfur from onions. It keeps the glutathione pools full, keeps the recycling system working. Green onion stalks, photosynthesis made visible, chlorophyll-mediated healing. Chlorophyll is similar in structure to hemoglobin, only the central atom differs, magnesium instead of iron. And your body recognizes this similarity, uses chlorophyll to support blood health, to alkalize tissues, to provide raw materials for healing. The green parts and white parts, they offer different gifts. Together they're complete. Nutrient differences between green tops and white bottoms. It's like root and shoot, earth and sky. The whites are sulfur-rich, pungent, activating. The greens are mineral-rich, vitamin-rich and building. Together they balance yang and yin, stimulation and nourishment. Your body doesn't need just one. It needs the dance between them, the interplay. Onion skin coloration, those papery outer layers, brown, red, golden. They're where antioxidant density peaks. The plant concentrates its defenses at the boundary, where it meets the world, and you can use those skins. Simmer them in water, strain, drink the extract, or compost them. Return them to soil, close the circle. Either way, respect the concentration, respect the plant's intelligence in knowing where to place its medicine. Darker outer layers, more flavonoids. It's a gradient, a spectrum, from pale inner core to pigmented outer layers. This stratification makes sense. The outer layers face sun, face oxygen, face oxidative stress, so they're armed with antioxidants. And when you peel an onion, you're moving through levels of protection, through layers of medicine. The question isn't whether to use outer or inner, it's how to use all. Color gradients as nutrient stratification. This is mapping. Each layer is a different zone, a different microenvironment, and the plant responds, adjusts, creates complexity. And your body, when it receives all these layers, all these gradients, it has more to work with, more options, more pathways. Diversity in food creates resilience in body. Now we begin to drift toward the deeper mechanisms, toward how onions speak to your cells. Dr. William Li, he studies angiogenesis, the growth of new blood vessels, and he discovered that foods can inhibit this growth, can tell abnormal vessels, the ones feeding tumors, to stop. Onions are among these foods, among the angiogenesis inhibitors. They contain compounds that prevent VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor, from signaling. Imagine tumor cells, hungry, desperate for blood supply, sending out VEGF like distress signals, and your body responding, growing vessels toward them, feeding them. But quercetin from onions, it blocks those signals, not perfectly, but enough enough to slow growth, to maintain dormancy. This is how food becomes medicine, becomes prevention, working every day, every meal, maintaining balance. The concentration of quercetin in onions, it varies. Red onions, yellow onions, all contain it, but in different amounts, in different ratios with other compounds. This is why diversity matters, why eating many types of onions, many colors, many varieties, creates redundancy, creates resilience. No single food is perfect, but a pattern of foods, a rhythm of eating that approaches perfection. Red onions versus white onions in polyphenol content. The research shows red wins in quantity, in variety, but white onions offer other gifts, better tolerance, different sulfur profiles. The question isn't which is best, it's which is best for you, for your system, for your needs right now. And the answer might change, should change, as you change, as seasons change, as your microbiome shifts and adapts. Onion flavonoids and immune defense, they work together. Quercetin, kaempferol, others, each one with affinity for different immune cells, different receptors. Together they create a network of support. They help natural killer cells recognize abnormal cells, help macrophages clear debris, help T cells coordinate responses. This is immune surveillance, constant, quiet, keeping you safe. Sulfur compounds in onions. This is where tears come from, where pungency lives, but also where medicine concentrates. Organosulfur compounds. They're volatile. They break down when cut, when crushed, releasing gases that sting eyes, that clear sinuses. But inside your body they're transformed, metabolized into forms that protect DNA, that support detoxification, that signal to damaged cells, cancer suppression. The words sound heavy, but the mechanism is light, is elegant. Organosulfur compounds from onions. They don't attack cancer, they prevent it. They protect DNA from damage. They enhance your cell's ability to repair themselves. They activate genes that suppress tumor formation. This happens constantly, silently. Every time you eat onions, every time those compounds circulate through your system. Anti-inflammatory pathways. There are so many. Your body has redundancy built in, multiple ways to resolve inflammation, to return to homeostasis. Onions work on several simultaneously. They inhibit COX-2, cyclooxygenase 2, the enzyme that makes inflammatory prostaglandins. They modulate cytokines, those messenger molecules immune cells use to communicate. They calm the system from multiple angles at once. NF-κB signaling, nuclear factor kappa B. It's a protein complex, a transcription factor, and when it's activated, it turns on hundreds of inflammatory genes. This is useful in acute stress, in infection, but chronic activation, that's aging, that's disease. Onion compounds, quercetin especially, they prevent NF-κB from entering the nucleus, from reaching DNA. They keep the gate closed, keep inflammation occasional instead of constant. Endothelial cell regulation, your blood vessel lining, one cell thick, always sensing, always responding. Onions help these cells maintain their function, produce nitric oxide, prevent adhesion molecules from forming. Adhesion molecules, they're like Velcro. They make your vessel wall sticky, allow cholesterol to attach, allow plaque to begin. But onion compounds keep the surface smooth, slippery, clean. Onion extract and tumor dormancy. Research shows small tumors, microscopic ones, they exist in most people, but they stay small, stay dormant, as long as they can't recruit blood supply. Onion compounds help maintain this dormancy, help keep microscopic abnormalities from becoming dangerous. This is the wisdom of prevention, of maintaining the body's natural defenses, of supporting what already works. The Eat to Beat Disease framework, Dr. Lee's teaching, it's about 5 defense systems: angiogenesis, regeneration, microbiome, DNA protection, immunity, and onions. They work on all 5. They're not specialists, they're generalists, supporting multiple systems simultaneously. This is the hallmark of real food, of medicine that's also nourishment. It doesn't target one thing, it supports everything. Quercetin bioavailability. This matters because consuming a compound and absorbing it, those are different. Quercetin in onions, it's glycosylated, bound to sugars, and your gut bacteria have enzymes that can cleave those bonds, free the quercetin, make it absorbable. So the health of your microbiome, it determines how much medicine you extract from your food. Another reason to feed those bacteria, another reason for prebiotic fibers. Mast cell stabilization. Mast cells live in your tissues, in your gut lining, in your skin, in your lungs, and they're packed with granules, with histamine, with inflammatory mediators. When they degranulate, release their contents, you feel it. Allergies, inflammation, itching, burning. But quercetin from onions, it stabilizes their membranes, makes them less reactive, less likely to release. This is why onions, despite making you cry, can actually reduce allergic responses. Histamine response, modulated, softened. Your body needs histamine. It's part of immune defense, part of stomach acid production, part of wakefulness. But too much, or released at wrong times, that's problems. Onions help regulate, help maintain appropriate levels, neither too much nor too little. This is the art of modulation, of finding middle paths. Prebiotic fibers. Let's return here to the compounds your body cannot digest. Inulin, fructooligosaccharides. They pass through your small intestine unchanged, arrive in your colon intact, and there they become food, become fuel for bacterial fermentation. The bacteria consume these fibers and produce short-chain fatty acids, butyrate, propionate, acetate, butyrate especially. This is the preferred fuel of colonocytes, the cells lining your colon. They absorb butyrate, use it for energy, and this feeding keeps them healthy, keeps the barrier strong, prevents leaky gut, prevents systemic inflammation. Onions feeding your bacteria, feeding your cells. It's a cascade, a chain of nourishment that starts with simple eating, with choosing foods that feed the garden within. The inulin content of onions, it varies by type, by growing conditions, but it's always present, always offering itself to your microbiome. Inulin is a fructin, a chain of fructose molecules, and certain bacteria specialize in breaking it down. Bifidobacteria particularly, they thrive on inulin, multiply, crowd out less helpful species, create a more beneficial balance. Fructooligosaccharides, shorter chains than inulin, but similar effects, prebiotic effects. They're sweet, slight, adding to onions' flavour, but their real purpose, their real gift, is microbial, is the way they select for helpful bacteria, encourage their growth, discourage harmful ones. This selective pressure, it shapes your microbiome over time, makes it more resilient, more diverse, more protective. Akkermansia mucinifera. Say that name slowly. Let it roll through your mind. This bacterium lives in your mucus layer, the gel that protects your intestinal lining, and it feeds on that mucus, which sounds problematic, but it's not, because it stimulates mucus production, keeps the layer thick, fresh, protective. Onions feed Akkermansia, help it thrive. And Akkermansia helps you, strengthens your gut barrier, reduces inflammation, improves metabolic health, bifidobacteria growth. These are the beneficial ones, the ones in probiotics, in yogurt. But you don't need to supplement if you feed the ones you have. If you eat prebiotics, eat onions. Bifidobacteria produce acids, lower the pH of your colon, create an environment pathogens don't like. They outcompete harmful bacteria for resources, for binding sites. They produce vitamins, B vitamins, vitamin K, compounds your body can absorb and use. Gut barrier integrity. Imagine your intestinal lining, cells packed tightly together, tight junctions sealing the spaces between them. This barrier, it's selective. It lets nutrients through, keeps toxins, bacteria, undigested food particles out. When it's compromised, when junctions loosen, that's leaky gut, that's inflammation, immune activation. Onions strengthen this barrier through multiple mechanisms, through butyrate production, through immune modulation, through direct effects on junction proteins, short-chain fatty acid production. This is one of the most important things your microbiome does, taking fiber, indigestible fiber, and transforming it into fatty acids your body can use, can benefit from. Butyrate we've mentioned, but propionate, it's absorbed, travels to your liver, affects metabolism, affects appetite regulation, and azotate. It circulates systemically, affects fat storage, affects brain function, all from bacterial fermentation, all from eating onions. Butyrate signaling, it's not just fuel, it's information. Butyrate activates GPR19A, a receptor on immune cells, on colonocytes, and this activation, It tells cells to reduce inflammation, to maintain tolerance, to stay calm. This is how gut bacteria communicate with your immune system, through molecules like butyrate, through chemical conversations happening constantly in your colon, onions shaping the gut microbiome. This happens gradually, meal by meal, day by day. You don't see it, don't feel it immediately, but over weeks, months, the composition shifts, changes. The bacteria that can use onion fibers, they flourish, pass their genes to offspring, establish dominance. And the ecosystem becomes more stable, more diverse, more resilient to stress, to antibiotics, to dietary changes. Those papery onion skins again, those outer layers you might discard, they contain the highest antioxidant density, the most concentrated quercetin, the most flavonoids per gram. Traditional preparations used them, made stocks, broths, extracts. Modern convenience discards them, but wisdom would save them, simmer them, extract their medicine, or at least compost them, return them to earth. Outer onion layers, just beneath the skin. They're more pungent, more sulfurous, more medicinal. As you cut deeper toward the core, the flavor softens, the compounds dilute, but the nutrition remains. This gradient means every part has value, has purpose. The outer layers for medicine, the inner for bulk, for texture, for sweetness. Using the whole onion, it's using the whole spectrum of benefits. Oxidative stress reduction. Your cells are constantly balancing oxidation and antioxidation. Making energy creates oxidative stress, creates free radicals as byproducts. This is normal, inevitable, but it needs to be balanced, managed. Onions provide antioxidants from outside, supplementing your internal production, helping maintain equilibrium. This allows your cells to age slower, to maintain function longer, to resist disease more effectively. Free radical scavenging, antioxidants from onions. They circulate, they encounter free radicals. Unpaired electrons looking to steal, looking to damage, and they donate. They neutralize. They sacrifice themselves so your cellular structures remain intact. This is happening right now, in your blood, in your tissues, molecules from your last meal, still working, still protecting, mitochondrial protection. Your mitochondria, the powerhouses, they're vulnerable. They're working so hard, producing ATP, and that production, it generates oxidative stress right at the source. Onion antioxidants, they accumulate in mitochondria, protect the membranes, protect the DNA, help maintain function. This is crucial because mitochondrial decline, that's aging at the cellular level, that's energy decline, vitality decline, cellular senescence. This is when cells stop dividing, stop functioning properly, but don't die. They just sit there, secreting inflammatory compounds, aging the tissues around them. These are zombie cells, and they accumulate with age. But onion compounds, they may help, may reduce senescence, may encourage these cells to either function or undergo apoptosis, programmed death, clearing the way for healthy cells, slowing abnormal blood vessel growth, angiogenesis again. But understanding it deeper, tumors need blood supply, need oxygen, nutrients. They send signals, VEGF, asking for vessels, and normally the body complies. But onion compounds, quercetin, they interfere with this signaling. They don't stop normal healing angiogenesis, the kind that repairs wounds. They specifically affect the pathological kind, the kind that feeds tumors, feeds inflammation, VOGF signaling, vascular endothelial growth factor. It binds to receptors on endothelial cells, tells them to proliferate, migrate, form new vessels. This is essential for healing, for reproduction, for growth, but in cancer, in macular degeneration, in other diseases, it's excessive, pathological. Onions modulate this. Don't eliminate it. Just moderate it. Keep it appropriate. Immune surveillance. Your immune system is always watching, always scanning for abnormal cells, for infections, for problems. Natural killer cells patrol, recognizing cells that have lost their self-markers. T cells coordinate responses, macrophages clean up debris, and onions, they support all of this. They enhance recognition, improve response, maintain balance. They don't boost immunity indiscriminately, they optimize it. Activating natural killer cells, NK cells. They're part of innate immunity. They don't need prior exposure. They recognize stress signals, recognize cells that are infected, transformed, abnormal. Onion compounds enhance NK cell activity, help them kill more effectively, help them recognize targets more accurately. This is surveillance, prevention, catching problems early before they become serious. Macrophage balance. These are the eaters, the cleaners. They exist in two states. M1, inflammatory, killing pathogens, and M2, anti-inflammatory, promoting healing. You need both at appropriate times. Onions help maintain this balance, prevent M1 from dominating, from creating chronic inflammation, encourage appropriate M2 activity, appropriate resolution. This is the art of immune modulation, the dance between activation and resolution. T-cell modulation. These are the learned immune cells, the ones that remember, that coordinate. Regulatory T-cells maintain tolerance, prevent autoimmunity. Helper T-cells coordinate responses, and onion compounds. They influence T-cell differentiation, influence which types develop. This affects your susceptibility to autoimmune disease, to allergies, to chronic inflammation. Food influencing immune development, food as medicine, chronic inflammation and onions. This is perhaps their greatest gift. Acute inflammation is healing, is appropriate, but chronic low-grade inflammation, inflammaging, that's disease, that's aging. And onions, eaten regularly, consistently, they reduce this background inflammation. They calm the system, allow it to return to baseline. This affects everything, every organ, every tissue. Reducing inflammation is perhaps the most powerful anti-aging intervention we know. Metabolic health, how your body handles energy, processes glucose, stores fat, manages insulin. This determines so much: your risk of diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, even cancer. And onions improve metabolic health. They improve insulin sensitivity, help cells respond to insulin, take up glucose appropriately. This prevents the cascading effects of insulin resistance, prevents metabolic syndrome. Improving insulin sensitivity. Your cells have insulin receptors, and when insulin binds, it signals glucose transporters to come to the surface to bring glucose in. But chronically high insulin, high glucose, the receptors become desensitized, resistant. Onion compounds. They help maintain sensitivity, help receptors respond appropriately. This is metabolic health. This is preventing the slide toward disease. Glycemic response. How quickly blood sugar rises after eating. This matters more than we knew. Frequent spikes. They damage vessels. Glycate proteins. Age tissues. Onions. Despite containing carbohydrates, they have a low glycemic index. They're released slowly, create gentle rises, and their compounds. They slow digestion, slow absorption, create more stable blood sugar. This stability, it affects mood, affects energy, affects cellular aging. Endothelial nitric oxide, that molecule that keeps blood vessels relaxed, dilated, flexible. Your endothelium produces it from arginine, using an enzyme called eNOS, endothelial nitric oxide synthase, and onion compounds. They enhance this enzyme's activity, help it produce more nitric oxide. This improves blood flow, reduces blood pressure, protects against atherosclerosis. It's cardiovascular protection at the molecular level. Cardiovascular protection. This encompasses so much: protecting vessel walls, preventing plaques, maintaining healthy blood pressure, preventing clots, ensuring adequate circulation. Onions address all of these through multiple compounds, multiple mechanisms. They're not single-target drugs. They're broad-spectrum cardiovascular support. This is the power of whole foods, of complex mixtures, of synergy, LDL oxidation, low-density lipoprotein, cholesterol. It's not inherently bad, but when it oxidizes, when free radicals damage it, that's when it becomes dangerous. That's when it can infiltrate vessel walls, start plaques. Onion antioxidants prevent this oxidation, keep LDL in its native, non-pathological form. This is crucial because it's not total cholesterol that matters most. It's whether that cholesterol is oxidized, damaged. Breathe, and let your awareness drift deeper now into the realm where onions become more than food, where they become language, become conversation between kingdoms of life. Plant-based immune support. This is the ancient contract. Plants cannot run from threats, cannot hide, so they developed chemistry, developed compounds that protect them. And when we eat these plants, when we eat onions, that protection transfers, becomes ours. The sulfur that defended the bulb underground, now defends your cells. The quercetin that shielded leaves from ultraviolet light now shields your DNA from oxidative damage. This is symbiosis at the deepest level. Plants make what they need, and in doing so, make what we need. Onions and plant-based immune support. It's not supplementation, it's partnership. Your immune cells have receptors, ancient receptors, that recognize plant compounds that respond to them. This recognition, it goes back millions of years, back to when our ancestors first ate plants, first learned their medicine. That learning is coded in your genome now, waiting, ready. Inflammation checkpoints. Your body has them. Built-in safeguards, mechanisms to prevent inflammation from spiraling, from becoming chronic. These checkpoints involve regulatory T cells, anti-inflammatory cytokines, resolution pathways, and onions support these checkpoints. They don't just reduce inflammation, they support the systems that regulate it, that keep it contained, appropriate, time-limited. This is sophisticated. This is your body's wisdom, enhanced by food's wisdom. Think of inflammation checkpoints like traffic lights, keeping flow orderly, preventing chaos. Onion compounds help maintain these signals, help cells read them correctly, respond appropriately. When inflammation starts, the checkpoint says when, the checkpoint says where, the checkpoint says how much, and when the threat is resolved, the checkpoint says stop, return to baseline. Onions support this entire cycle, this entire sophisticated dance of immune regulation, cellular communication. Your cells are always talking, always sending signals, chemical signals, electrical signals, mechanical signals. They coordinate, they inform, they respond, and onions influence this communication. Quercetin affects receptor signaling, sulfur compounds modulate ion channels, polyphenols change membrane fluidity. All of this affects how cells talk, how they listen, how they understand each other. Imagine your body as a vast network, 70 trillion cells, all connected, all communicating. The quality of that communication, the clarity, the accuracy, it determines health. When signals are garbled, when messages are misunderstood, disease emerges. But onion compounds, they act like signal boosters, like noise reducers. They help cells communicate more clearly, more effectively. This is cellular order. This is biological coherence, redox balance, reduction and oxidation, the electron dance. Life exists in this balance. Too much oxidation, cells age, DNA damages, proteins malfunction. Too much reduction, cells cannot signal properly, cannot respond to threats. The balance, the equilibrium, that's where health lives. And onions help maintain this balance. They provide antioxidants when oxidation is excessive. They allow appropriate oxidative signaling when needed. This is redox balance. This is the chemistry of vitality. Your cells measure redox balance constantly, through sensors, through transcription factors like NRF2, like NF-κB. When balance shifts, these sensors activate, turn on protective genes, turn off damaging ones. Onion compounds influence these sensors, help them respond appropriately, neither overreacting nor underreacting, just responding correctly. This is cellular intelligence, maintained through nutrition, immune equilibrium. This is what health looks like, not maximum immunity, not boosted immunity, but balanced immunity. Immunity that responds powerfully to real threats, but stays quiet otherwise. That distinguishes self from other, friend from foe. Onions support this equilibrium. They enhance function without causing hyperactivation. They calm without suppressing. This is the middle way on the path of balance. Think of your immune system as an orchestra. Each cell type, each molecule is an instrument, and health is harmony. All instruments playing together, in tune, in time. Onions are like the conductor, helping coordinate, helping maintain rhythm, helping ensure each section comes in at the right moment, plays at the right volume. This is immune equilibrium. This is immunological music. Disease-resistant ecosystems. Your body is an ecosystem. Your gut especially. Trillions of organisms living, interacting, competing, cooperating. And like any ecosystem, diversity creates stability, creates resistance to invasion. Onions feed beneficial microbes, increase diversity, create what ecologists call resilience. When a pathogen tries to establish, tries to invade, a diverse ecosystem resists, has no open niches, no available resources. The pathogen finds no foothold, no opportunity. This is how onions protect you, not by killing pathogens directly, though they can do that too, but by creating an environment, an internal terrain where pathogens cannot thrive, cannot establish. This is the wisdom of ecology applied internally. This is understanding your body as garden, as forest, as living ecosystem that needs tending, needs diversity, needs the right foods to flourish. Gut microbial metabolites. These are the compounds bacteria produce, the byproducts of their metabolism. Short-chain fatty acids, yes, but also vitamins, neurotransmitters, compounds that affect your brain, your mood, your immune system. When you eat onions, when you feed your microbiome, you're not just feeding bacteria, you're enabling production of these metabolites, these beneficial compounds that become part of you. Butyrate, propionate, acetate. These we've mentioned, but there are others. Indole derivatives, phenolic compounds, each one with effects, with functions. Some strengthen gut barrier, some modulate immunity, some affect metabolism, some even cross into brain, affect neural function. This is the gut-brain axis. This is the microbiome as organ. As factory-producing compounds you cannot make yourself, cannot obtain, except through these microbial partners. Immune tolerance. This is crucial. This is what prevents autoimmunity, prevents allergies. Your immune system must learn what to tolerate, what to ignore. food antigens, gut bacteria, your own cells, all must be recognized as safe, as self, as acceptable. And this tolerance, it's actively maintained, actively taught. Regulatory T cells patrol, suppress inappropriate responses, teach other immune cells to stand down. Onions support immune tolerance through their effects on gut barrier, on microbiome, on T cell differentiation. They help create the conditions where tolerance develops, where immune system learns appropriately. This is especially important in gut, where immune system encounters more antigens than anywhere else, more bacteria, more food particles. Learning tolerance here, it affects tolerance everywhere. Vascular calm. This is the state of healthy blood vessels, not constricted, not inflamed, just open, responsive, flexible. Endothelial cells resting in their baseline state, producing adequate nitric oxide, maintaining proper permeability, not expressing adhesion molecules, not accumulating immune cells. This is vascular peace, and it's what prevents atherosclerosis, prevents hypertension, maintains circulation. Onions promote vascular calm through multiple pathways, through antioxidants that prevent LDL oxidation, through compounds that enhance nitric oxide, through anti-inflammatory effects that prevent endothelial activation. Each pathway contributes, each mechanism adds to the calm, and together they create vessels that remain young, that remain responsive, that continue serving you decade after decade. Cellular order. This is what separates life from non-life. Entropy increases everywhere. Disorder grows. But living cells maintain order, maintain organization through constant work, constant energy expenditure. They repair damaged proteins, replace worn components, clear debris, maintain membrane integrity. And all of this order, it requires resources, requires energy, requires building blocks. Onions provide resources for maintaining cellular order, sulfur for protein synthesis, for glutathione production, polyphenols that protect existing structures, that reduce damage, prebiotic fibers that enable energy production through bacterial fermentation. All of this supports the constant work of maintaining order, of resisting entropy, of staying organized, of staying alive. Biological resilience. This is the capacity to withstand stress, to recover from insult, to adapt to challenge. Resilient systems, resilient organisms, they don't avoid stress entirely. They handle it well, they bounce back, they learn. And onions build this resilience through hormetic effects, through immune support, through mitochondrial protection. They make your systems more robust, more adaptable, more capable of weathering life's inevitable stresses. Think of resilience like a tree bending in wind, a brittle tree breaks, a flexible tree survives. And flexibility comes from health, from proper structure, from adequate resources. Onions provide resources, they maintain structure, they enable flexibility, they make you like the tree that bends, It survives the storm. It continues growing. Daily immune allies. This is what onions are. Not occasional medicine, not emergency intervention, but daily support, daily reinforcement, like friends who show up consistently, who support quietly, who never abandon onions in your diet daily. They provide this constant support, this reliable backup. Your immune system comes to depend on this, comes to expect it, and functions better because of it. This is the power of consistency, of regular small inputs rather than occasional large ones. Your body adapts to what you give it regularly, optimizes around it, builds systems that incorporate it. Daily onions. They become part of your biological baseline, part of your normal, and their absence would be felt, would be missed. This is integration. This is true dietary medicine. Food as information. This is the paradigm shift. Food is not just calories, not just building blocks. It's data. It's instructions. Every bite sends signals, activates pathways, changes gene expression. Onions send specific signals, specific instructions. They tell genes to activate antioxidant production, tell immune cells to balance their responses, tell gut bacteria to flourish. This is nutrigenomics. This is food talking to genome. Your DNA is not destiny, it's potential. And which potential becomes real, which genes express, that depends partly on environment, on food, on information from outside. Onions provide good information, protective information, longevity information. They activate the genes you want active, silence the ones better left quiet. This is epigenetic nutrition. This is using food to shape biology, systems biology. This is understanding organisms as integrated wholes, not as collections of parts. Everything connects. Everything influences everything else. Change one thing and ripples spread. Onions work at the systems level. They affect gut, which affects immune system, which affects inflammation, which affects brain, which affects stress response, which affects gut. The circle completes. The system integrates. This is why reductionism fails. Why isolated compounds in pills don't replicate food effects. Because food works on the whole system, on multiple targets simultaneously, creating coherence, creating balance. You cannot capture this in a supplement, cannot reduce it to single mechanisms. The magic is in the complexity, in the systems level effects. Self-healing mechanisms. Your body wants to heal, has programs for healing, for regeneration, for repair. These mechanisms, they're always running, always working, unless blocked, unless depleted, unless overwhelmed. Onions support self-healing. They provide resources, remove blocks, reduce overwhelm. They enable what your body already wants to do, already knows how to do. This is working with biology, not against it. Healing happens in rest, in safety, in adequate nutrition. Onions contribute to all three. Their compounds reduce stress, support immune function so you're safer from infection, provide nutrients and enable nutrient production through microbiome. They create conditions for healing, for the self-repair mechanisms to function optimally. This is the art of healing, creating conditions, removing obstacles, then getting out of the way. The body's defenses, they're layered, redundant, sophisticated. Physical barriers, chemical barriers, cellular defenses, molecular defenses, each layer working, each layer backing up the others. And onions support multiple layers. They strengthen gut barrier, they enhance antimicrobial compounds, they optimize immune cells, they protect at molecular level through antioxidants. This is comprehensive defense. This is resilient protection. Your first defense, your skin, your mucous membranes, these barriers between you and world. They're living, responsive, constantly renewed. Onions support barrier function, support the cells that form barriers, provide materials for mucus production, enhance tight junctions between cells. This is foundational protection, preventing problems before they start, before pathogens penetrate, before inflammation begins, and deeper cellular defenses, autophagy clearing damaged proteins, proteasomes degrading misfolded molecules, DNA repair enzymes fixing breaks. These are the internal defenses, the quality control systems. Onions enhance these too, through activation of transcription factors, through provision of sulfur for protein synthesis, through reduction of oxidative damage that would otherwise overwhelm repair systems. Layer upon layer, defense upon defense, and onions supporting all of it. This is comprehensive protection. This is what millennia of human experience with onions has given us. Not single mechanisms, not isolated effects, but broad, deep, systemic support for the body's inherent wisdom, for its capacity to protect itself, to heal itself, to maintain itself in the face of constant challenge. Onions, humble, common, profound. Let yourself sink deeper now into the molecular world, where onions work their quiet magic. Blood pressure. We return to this because it matters so much. Hypertension, the silent condition, damaging vessels, damaging organs, aging you from inside. And onions address this through such elegant means. Through nitric oxide we've discussed, but also through other pathways, through potassium that balances sodium, through compounds that relax smooth muscle in vessel walls, ACE inhibition, angiotensin converting enzyme. This enzyme constricts vessels, raises pressure, and pharmaceutical ACE inhibitors, they block it completely. But onion compounds, they inhibit it gently, partially. They don't force, they modulate, they suggest. Your body retains some control, some ability to adjust. This is the difference between drug and food, between suppression and support. The Mediterranean diet. Let's drift through these sun-soaked lands. Greece with its ancient olive groves. Italy with its tomato-covered hillsides. Spain with its coastal abundance. In all these places, our onions are not optional, not occasional. They're foundational. They're in the morning omelette, the midday salad, the evening stew. They're everywhere, always. This constant presence, it creates effects no occasional consumption could. And the Mediterranean pattern, it's not one food, it's the symphony. Onions sautéed in olive oil, that fat-soluble compounds from both work together. Onions layered with tomatoes, sulfur and lycopene combining. Onions with fish, with whole grains, with herbs. Each combination creating new synergies, new effects. This is food wisdom. This is understanding that the whole exceeds its parts. That combination creates power isolated foods cannot achieve. Longevity, the blue zones. Sardinia, where shepherds live past 100. Okinawa, where women are the longest lived. Nicoya, Loma Linda, Icaria. Different climates, different cultures. But patterns emerge, patterns of eating, of moving, of connecting. And in the eating pattern, always, plants dominate and onions appear, not as superfood, not as special medicine, but as daily food, as normal food, as food so common it's barely noticed. This is the secret, perhaps. Not exotic compounds from rare sources, but common compounds from common sources, eaten commonly. Onions' power is partly in their accessibility, their affordability, their presence in every cuisine. Everyone can eat onions. Everyone can access their medicine. This democratization, this universality, it allows consistent intake, allows the body to adapt, to optimize around their regular presence. Blue zone nutrition, it's whole food based, minimally processed, mostly plants, and the plants are diverse. Many colors, many families, many preparations. Onions fit perfectly. They're whole. They're plants. They add flavor, making other healthy foods more appealing. They're not just medicine themselves. They're enablers of healthy eating patterns. They make vegetables delicious, make beans savory, make simple food satisfying. Autophagy, cellular self-eating. This sounds disturbing, but it's essential. Your cells accumulate damaged proteins, dysfunctional organelles, cellular debris, and autophagy. It's the cleanup system. Cells form membranes around damaged components, fuse them with lysosomes, digest them, recycle the parts. This keeps cells young, keeps them functional, prevents accumulation of junk that would eventually impair function. Autophagy declines with age, with constant nutrient availability, with lack of cellular stress, but it can be enhanced through fasting, through exercise, through certain compounds. And onion polyphenols, they may activate autophagy pathways, may enhance this cellular housekeeping. This is cellular renewal. This is how cells maintain youth despite age, despite time, despite constant use. AMPK, adenosine monophosphate activated protein kinase. This enzyme, it's the energy sensor. When cellular energy is low, when ATP drops and AMP rises, AMPK activates, and when it does, it shifts metabolism, promotes energy production, promotes fat burning, inhibits energy-consuming processes like protein synthesis, turns on autophagy, turns on mitochondrial biogenesis. It's the switch from growth to maintenance, from building to cleaning. And onion compounds, quercetin particularly, they can activate AMPK, can flip that metabolic switch, not as strongly as fasting, not as completely, but enough to activate beneficial pathways, enough to promote healthy aging. This is one mechanism by which onions might support longevity, by activating the same pathways that caloric restriction activates, that exercise activates. That's powerful. That's using food as metabolic signal, cellular stress responses. Your cells have ancient programs, stress response programs, that activate when conditions become challenging. Heat shock proteins that refold damaged proteins, antioxidant response elements that ramp up internal antioxidant production, DNA repair pathways that fix breaks. These are survival programs, and they make cells more resilient, more capable, stronger. Onions provide mild stress, beneficial stress, hormetic stress. Their compounds are slightly challenging to cells, slightly oxidative initially, and cells respond by upregulating defenses, by producing more antioxidants, more protective proteins. This is hormesis. This is the principle that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Applied at the cellular level, onions train your cells, make them more prepared for real threats. DNA protection, your genetic material, your instruction manual, it's under constant assault. From metabolism generating reactive oxygen species, from environmental toxins, from background radiation, from errors in replication, you have extensive repair systems. Base excision repair, nucleotide excision repair, mismatch repair, double-strand break repair, all working constantly, fixing damage, maintaining code integrity. But repair systems need resources, need energy, need enzyme cofactors, and they can be overwhelmed if damage rates are too high. Onion compounds help on both ends. They reduce damage through antioxidant effects, and they may enhance repair through activation of repair pathways. This dual action, prevention and repair, it's comprehensive DNA protection. It's maintaining the blueprint, keeping instructions clear, preventing the errors that accumulate into aging, into cancer, into dysfunction, epigenetics, above the gene. This is perhaps the most profound. Your DNA sequence, mostly it's fixed, mostly unchanging, but which genes are expressed, which are active, which are making proteins, that's fluid, that changes constantly, responding to environment, to food, to stress, to sleep. And these changes, they're not random. They're regulated through chemical marks on DNA, through histone modifications, through chromatin structure. Onion compounds influence epigenetics. Polyphenols can inhibit enzymes that add or remove epigenetic marks, can change which genes are accessible, which are silenced. This means food, simple food like onions, can literally change your gene expression, can activate protective genes, silence inflammatory ones. This is profound. This is food as information, food as programming, food shaping biology at the deepest level. Detoxification, this word gets misused, gets commercialized, but real detoxification, it's happening constantly in your liver, in your kidneys, in every cell. Your liver especially, it's a chemical processing plant, taking toxic compounds, transforming them into safe ones, excreting them. This happens in phases. Phase 1 makes compounds reactive. Phase 2 makes them excretable. And both phases need support, need nutrients, need enzyme cofactors. Onions support phase 2 especially, the critical phase, the conjugation phase. They do this through sulfur provision, through activation of NRF2s, that master regulator of detoxification genes. When NRF2 activates, it turns on hundreds of genes. Genes for glutathione synthesis, for UDP glucuronacyltransferases, for sulfotransferases, for all the enzymes that make toxic compounds safe. This is comprehensive detoxification support. This is enabling your body's natural sanitation systems, phase 2 liver enzymes. These are the heroes of detoxification. Glutathione S-transferase takes reactive compounds and conjugates them with glutathione. UDP glucuronacyltransferase adds glucuronic acid. Sulfotransferase adds sulfate groups. Each addition makes the compound more water-soluble, more excretable. And onions support production of these enzymes, provide substrates they need. This is biochemical support at the most practical level. Glutathione pathways. Glutathione is tripeptide, 3 amino acids joined, glycine, cysteine, glutamate. The limiting factor is usually cysteine, which contains sulfur, which is why sulfur-rich foods matter so much. Onions provide dietary sulfur. That sulfur becomes cysteine, becomes glutathione. And glutathione, it's involved in everything. In antioxidant defense, in detoxification, in immune function, in DNA synthesis, in protein synthesis. It's that central, that important. Your cells maintain glutathione pools, recycle used glutathione, regenerate it. But the pools can be depleted by toxins, by medications, by oxidative stress, by aging, and when depleted, cells become vulnerable, become damaged more easily. Maintaining glutathione levels, this is foundational health, and eating sulfur-rich foods like onions, this is one way to support it, to ensure adequate substrate, adequate building blocks, microbiome diversity. Let's return here to this internal ecosystem. The more diverse your microbiome, the more species present, the more stable it is, the more resilient to disturbance. Diversity provides functional redundancy. If one species declines, others can fill its role. And diversity prevents supremacy, prevents any single species from taking over, whether beneficial or pathogenic. Onions increase diversity. They feed multiple bacterial genera, multiple species. They create niches for beneficial bacteria, provide substrates that select for helpful species. And over time, with consistent onion consumption, the microbiome shifts, becomes more diverse, more balanced, more protective. This is ecological gardening applied internally. This is understanding that diversity in nature and in gut creates health, creates resilience, creates stability, immune resilience. This is the ability to mount appropriate responses, to clear infections effectively, to recover quickly, to adapt to new challenges. Resilient immunity. It's not maximally active, not constantly stimulated. It's responsive, it's balanced, it's trained. And training comes from appropriate challenges, from exposure to benign antigens, from education by microbiome, from support by nutrition. Onions provide this support through polyphenols that modulate immune cells, through prebiotic effects on microbiome, through antioxidants that prevent oxidative damage to immune cells themselves. They make your immune system smarter, more discriminating, more effective. This is immune education, immune optimization, and it happens gradually, through consistent exposure, through regular intake, through making onions part of daily eating, everyday medicinal food. This concept is important. Medicine doesn't have to be rare, doesn't have to be exotic, doesn't have to be expensive. Some of the most powerful medicine, they're common, they're accessible, they're already in kitchens worldwide. Onions exemplify this. They're everywhere. They're affordable. They're familiar. They're versatile. And they're profoundly medicinal, working on multiple body systems, through multiple mechanisms. This accessibility, it's crucial. Health shouldn't be luxury, shouldn't require wealth. The most fundamental medicines, the foods that prevent disease, they should be available to everyone. And onions are, almost every cuisine uses them, almost every food culture knows them. They're democratic in the truest sense, offering their benefits to anyone willing to eat them. This is nutritional justice. This is food medicine for all. Food synergy. Onions don't work in isolation. They work best in combination with other foods, with other compounds. Cooking onions with olive oil. The fat increases quercetin absorption. Eating onions with tomatoes. The compounds work together protecting DNA. Combining onions with garlic. The different sulfur compounds synergize. This is why traditional cuisines evolved the way they did. Why certain combinations appear across cultures. The wisdom knew before science could explain. The wisdom knew that certain foods work better together, that combination creates effects individual foods cannot. And now science confirms, shows mechanisms, shows synergies, shows why the traditional combinations make sense. This is validation of culinary tradition, validation of food wisdom accumulated over generations. Olive oil and onions, this Mediterranean combination. The fat from olive oil increases absorption of fat-soluble compounds from onions, and olive oil itself contains polyphenols, oleocanthal, hydroxytyrosol, that have anti-inflammatory effects, that protect cardiovascular system. When combined with onion compounds, quercetin, sulfur compounds, the effects multiply. This is culinary synergy. This is food pharmacy. Tomatoes and onions. Another classic pairing. Tomatoes contain lycopene, that red pigment, that powerful antioxidant that protects prostate, protects cardiovascular system, protects skin from UV damage. And cooking tomatoes with onions, the sulfur compounds may enhance lycopene absorption, may protect lycopene from degradation. Together, they create more comprehensive antioxidant protection than either alone. Garlic and onions, both alliums, both sulfur-rich, but with different sulfur profiles. Garlic has allicin. Onions have different organosulfur compounds. Together, they provide broader antimicrobial effects, broader metabolic effects, broader protective effects. This is why they're cooked together in so many dishes, why they're foundational in so many cuisines. The pairing, it's not arbitrary, it's synergistic, it's wise. Drift now, deeper still, into the antiviral realm, where onions meet invisible threats, viruses. They're not quite alive, not quite dead. They're information wrapped in protein, seeking cells to hijack, seeking machinery to copy themselves. And your body has defenses, interferon responses, natural killer cells, antiviral proteins. But these defenses, they work better with support, with the right compound circulating, with the right nutritional foundation. Onions contain compounds that inhibit viral replication. In laboratory studies, in cell cultures, they interfere with viral entry, with viral proteins, with the machinery viruses need to multiply. This isn't treatment, isn't cure, but prevention, support, making your terrain less hospitable, less welcoming to viral invaders. This is the strategy of resistance, of making infection harder to establish, harder to spread, antibacterial effects, sulfur compounds especially. They disrupt bacterial membranes, interfere with bacterial metabolism, create environments bacteria cannot tolerate. But here's what's remarkable. They affect pathogenic bacteria more than beneficial ones. This selectivity, this discrimination, it's not perfect, but it's real. It's why onions have been used for infections throughout history, why they appear in poultices, in traditional remedies, why grandmothers knew to use them. The mechanism is elegant. Pathogenic bacteria often have different membrane compositions than beneficial ones, different metabolic pathways, different vulnerabilities. Onion compounds exploit these differences, targeting what makes pathogens pathogenic, while largely sparing the beneficial bacteria you need. This is sophisticated antimicrobial action. This is nature's intelligence. Millions of years of evolution creating selective pressure, creating compounds that discriminate, fungal balance. Your gut contains fungi, candida, other yeasts, usually in small numbers, usually controlled. But when bacteria decline, when the immune system weakens, fungi can overgrow, can cause problems, and onion compounds help prevent this, help maintain the bacterial populations that compete with fungi, help support immune responses that keep fungi in check. This is ecological balance. This is understanding that health is not absence of organisms, but appropriate balance of organisms. Mucosal immunity, your mucous membranes, these moist surfaces lining gut, respiratory tract, urogenital tract. They're where most pathogens try to enter, where most infections begin, and they're heavily defended with secretory IgA antibodies, with antimicrobial peptides, with physical barriers of mucus. Onions support all of this. They enhance IgA production, support epithelial cells that produce mucus, provide nutrients for immune cells stationed in mucosa. This mucosal defense, it's your first line, your front line, and it's intelligent. It can distinguish pathogens from food, from beneficial bacteria, from self. This discrimination, this immune tolerance at mucosal surfaces, it's crucial, and onions support it through effects on gut microbiome, through anti-inflammatory effects, through provision of nutrients that mucosal immune system needs, inflammation resolution. This deserves deeper exploration, because stopping inflammation, that's not enough. Inflammation must resolve, must actively end, must return tissues to normal function. Your body makes specialized molecules for this. Lipoxins, resolvins, myrisins, protectins. These are made from omega-3 fatty acids, and they actively shut down inflammatory signaling, clear inflammatory cells, promote healing. Onions support resolution, not just by reducing inflammatory signals, but by supporting the pathways that actively resolve inflammation, that restore homeostasis. This is sophisticated. This is understanding that healing requires active processes, not just absence of damage. Resolution is as important as response, maybe more important, because chronic inflammation, that's failed resolution, that's inflammation that never properly ends. Cytokine balance returns us to this theme, these signaling molecules, interleukins, interferons, tumor necrosis factor. They coordinate immune responses, but balance is everything. IL-6 in acute infection, it's necessary, helpful. IL-6 chronically elevated, it's aging, it's disease. The same molecule, different context, different meaning. Onions help maintain context-appropriate levels, help cytokines rise when needed, fall when threat passes. This is immune intelligence, immune wisdom, not maximum cytokines, not minimum, but right amount, right time, right place. This is what health looks like at the molecular level, and onions, through their multiple compounds, through their multiple mechanisms, help maintain this intelligent balance. This is why single compound drugs often fail. They're too specific, too rigid. Food provides flexibility, provides multiple tools, provides adaptive support, chronic disease prevention. Most diseases that kill, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, stroke, Alzheimer's, they share common roots: inflammation, oxidative stress, metabolic dysfunction, insulin resistance. These are the soil from which disease grows. and preventing disease. It's not about treating symptoms, it's about changing the soil, making it inhospitable to disease, making it supportive of health. Onions change the soil. They reduce inflammation at its roots. They reduce oxidative stress through antioxidants. They improve metabolic function through effects on insulin sensitivity, through effects on gut microbiome. This is foundational prevention. This is addressing causes, not symptoms, and it works slowly, gradually, over years, over decades. This is why consistency matters, why daily intake matters, why making onions habit matters, immune aging, immunosenescence. As you age, your immune system changes. T cells decline, especially naive T cells that can learn new threats. Thymus shrinks, produces fewer new immune cells. Inflammation increases, background inflammation, inflammaging, and immune function declines. You become more susceptible to infection, less able to clear abnormal cells, less able to recover. But this aging, it's not completely inevitable. It's partly modifiable through lifestyle, through nutrition, through foods like onions that support immune function, that reduce inflammaging, that provide building blocks for immune cells. You cannot stop aging, but you can age better, can maintain function longer, can preserve immune capacity. This is successful aging. This is health span extension, inflammaging. Inflammation plus aging. This chronic low-grade inflammation, it drives so much age-related disease. It damages tissues, activates inappropriate processes, wastes energy on unnecessary immune responses, and it's partly caused by gut barrier breakdown, by microbiome changes, by cellular senescence, by accumulated damage. Onions address multiple causes, strengthen gut barrier, support beneficial microbiome, provide antioxidants that reduce damage, vascular health. We return again. Because vessels age, become stiff, accumulate plaques, lose responsiveness. This is vascular aging, and it's central to overall aging. Your vessels feed every tissue, every organ. When vessel function declines, everything declines. Brain gets less oxygen, heart works harder, kidneys filter less efficiently, muscles fatigue easier. Everything connects to vascular health. Onions maintain vascular youth through endothelial support, through nitric oxide enhancement, through prevention of oxidative damage, through anti-inflammatory effects. They keep vessels flexible, responsive, clean. This is perhaps their most important longevity effect, because vascular health, it's foundational. It determines how well every other system functions. Healthy vessels, healthy body, endothelial repair. When vessel lining is damaged, when cells die, when function declines, your body can repair, can regenerate. Endothelial progenitor cells, they circulate in blood. They can migrate to damaged areas, differentiate into new endothelial cells, restore function. But this repair capacity, it declines with age, declines with disease, and onion compounds may support it, may enhance progenitor cell function, may improve repair capacity, Microcirculation, the smallest vessels, capillaries where exchange happens, where oxygen diffuses to tissues, where nutrients transfer, where waste removes. This is where life happens at cellular level. And microcirculation, it's vulnerable. It's sensitive to inflammation, to oxidative stress, to metabolic dysfunction. Onions improve microcirculation, improve capillary function, ensure tissues receive what they need. This affects every organ, every process, every cell. Platelet function. These small cell fragments, they're essential for clotting, for stopping bleeding, but excessive activation, excessive aggregation, that's thrombosis, that's heart attacks, strokes. Onions reduce the excessive platelet activation, make blood less sticky, less prone to inappropriate clotting. This is cardiovascular protection. This is stroke prevention, achieved through simple daily eating, through compounds in common food, working quietly, constantly, protecting. The mirror doesn't lie. You've noticed the thinning at your crown, the widening part, the strands circling the drain after every shower. Hair loss feels like losing a piece of yourself, and the solutions marketed to you cost hundreds of dollars, with ingredient lists you can't pronounce. But what if the answer was sitting in your kitchen right now, humble and overlooked? Onion juice has emerged as one of the most scientifically supported natural remedies for hair regrowth, and the research is compelling. A study published in the Journal of Dermatology found that participants who applied onion juice to their scalp twice daily experienced significant hair regrowth after just 2 weeks, with even more dramatic results at 4 and 6 weeks. The control group using tap water saw virtually no improvement. The secret lies in sulfur. Onions are rich in sulfur compounds, particularly one called allicin, which forms when an onion is cut or crushed. Sulfur is a critical building block of keratin, the protein that comprises your hair. When you apply onion juice topically, you're delivering concentrated sulfur directly to your hair follicles, providing the raw materials they need to produce strong, healthy hair shafts. But onion juice doesn't just feed your hair, it awakens dormant follicles. The sulfur compounds improve blood circulation to the scalp, ensuring that hair follicles receive adequate oxygen and nutrients. This increased circulation can revive follicles that have been inactive, potentially restoring hair growth in areas that have been thinning for years. Onion juice also possesses potent antibacterial and antifungal properties. Scalp infections and inflammation are common culprits behind hair loss, creating an environment where hair cannot thrive. The antimicrobial compounds in onions cleanse the scalp, reduce inflammation, and create optimal conditions for growth. Perhaps most remarkably, onion juice appears to combat the hormonal component of hair loss. Research suggests that the antioxidants in onions, particularly quercetin, may help reduce the effects of DHT, dihydrotestosterone, the hormone responsible for male and female pattern baldness. By blocking DHT's damaging effects on hair follicles, Onion juice addresses hair loss at its root cause. The application is simple. Blend or juice 1 medium onion, strain the liquid through a cheesecloth, and apply the juice directly to your scalp using a cotton ball or your fingertips. Massage gently for 5 to 10 minutes to maximize absorption and circulation, then leave it on for at least 30 minutes, or overnight if you can tolerate the smell. Rinse thoroughly with a mild shampoo. For best results, repeat this process 3 times per week. Yes, the smell is pungent, but many who've tried this remedy report that the scent fades quickly after rinsing, and some add a few drops of essential oil like lavender or rosemary to the mixture to make it more pleasant. The temporary inconvenience is a small price for the confidence that comes with seeing new growth emerge. Your hair loss journey doesn't have to end in expensive treatments or resignation. Sometimes the most powerful medicine grows in the humblest places, right in your kitchen, waiting to help you reclaim what you thought was lost forever. Blood pressure regulation, onions working through multiple pathways, through nitric oxide production, through ACE inhibition, angiotensin converting enzyme, the enzyme that raises blood pressure. Onion compounds inhibit it, gently, naturally. This isn't pharmaceutical suppression, it's biological modulation, allowing your body to find its natural set point, its healthy baseline. Mediterranean-style diets. Onions are foundational. In Greece, in Italy, in Spain, onions appear daily, multiple times, cooked into dishes, scattered raw in salads. The Mediterranean diet isn't one diet. It's a pattern, a philosophy, and onions are part of that pattern, part of that wisdom, along with olive oil, tomatoes, herbs, whole grains, creating synergy, creating health that exceeds the sum of parts. Longevity diets around the world, the blue zones, those regions where people live longest, healthiest, in Sardinia, in Okinawa, in Nicoya, people eat onions regularly, consistently, part of their daily food. This correlation isn't proof, but it's suggestive, compelling. Onions as part of patterns that support long, healthy life. Not magic bullets, but steady medicine. Blue zone nutrition. It's never one thing, it's always patterns. Diversity, whole foods, plants mostly, and onions fit perfectly. They're accessible, affordable, storable, versatile. They can be eaten by anyone, prepared countless ways. This democratization of health, this is important. Onions don't discriminate, don't require wealth, just willingness to include them. Autophagy signaling, cellular self-cleaning. Your cells can digest their own damaged parts, recycle proteins, clear debris. This process declines with the age, with constant eating, but certain compounds can enhance it. Onion polyphenols. They may activate autophagy, may help cells maintain their housekeeping. This is cellular renewal, cellular youth, maintained through simple daily eating. AMPK activation, AMP-activated protein kinase, it's called the master metabolic switch. When activated, it promotes fat burning, glucose uptake, mitochondrial biogenesis, autophagy, all the processes associated with health, with longevity, and onion compounds. They can activate AMPK, can flip that switch. This is how food becomes information, becomes signaling, becomes medicine. Cellular stress responses. Your cells have ancient programs, survival programs, activated by mild stress, by challenge. This is hormesis, the principle that small stresses make you stronger. And onion compounds, they're mild stressors. They activate heat shock proteins, activate antioxidant response elements, teach your cells to be more resilient, more adaptive. This is training, cellular training through food, DNA protection. Your DNA is constantly under attack from metabolism, from environment, from cosmic radiation, and you have repair mechanisms, enzymes that fix breaks, correct mutations. But damage accumulates, repair declines unless supported. Onion compounds support DNA repair, reduce oxidative damage to DNA, maintain the integrity of your genetic material. This is protecting your blueprint, your instructions for building proteins, for maintaining life, epigenetic influence. This is profound. Your DNA sequence doesn't change much, but which genes are expressed, which are silenced, that changes constantly, responding to environment, to food, to stress. And onion compounds, they influence this. They can activate protective genes, silence inflammatory ones. This is food talking to your genome, changing expression without changing sequence. Detoxification enzymes. Your liver is always working, always processing. Phase 1 and Phase 2, oxidation and conjugation. Onions support Phase 2 especially, through sulfur compounds, through activation of NRF2, a transcription factor that upregulates detoxification genes. This is your body's sanitation system, and onions help it work better, help it clear toxins more efficiently. Phase 2, liver enzymes, glutathione S transferase, UDP glucuronosyl transferase, sulfotransferase. These enzymes take reactive intermediates from Phase 1 and make them water-soluble, safe, excretable. Onion sulfur compounds support this, provide raw materials, activate the genes that make these enzymes. This is sophisticated biochemistry, happening automatically just from eating. Glutathione pathways. Glutathione is your master antioxidant, made from 3 amino acids, one of which is cysteine, which contains sulfur. Onions provide sulfur, dietary sulfur that becomes cysteine, becomes glutathione. This is direct support, providing building blocks, not just stimulating production, but enabling it. This is why sulfur-rich foods are so important, why onions have been valued across cultures. Microbiome diversity. The more species in your gut, the more stable the ecosystem, the more resilient to disturbance. Onions feed multiple species, multiple genera. They increase diversity, increase richness. This diversity correlates with health, with longevity, with disease resistance. It's ecological resilience applied to your internal ecosystem. Immune resilience, the ability to respond appropriately to challenges, not overreact, not underreact, just respond correctly. Onions train your immune system through polyphenols, through fiber, through effects on microbiome. They teach balance, teach discrimination, teach appropriate response. This is immune wisdom, immune maturity. Onions as everyday medicinal food. This is the key insight. They're not exotic, not expensive, not difficult to prepare. They're available, accessible, familiar, and yet they're profoundly medicinal, working on multiple systems, through multiple mechanisms. This is the best kind of medicine, the kind you don't notice, the kind that works through simple daily habits. Food synergy. Onions don't work alone. They work with other foods, amplifying, modifying, creating effects neither could alone. Onions with olive oil. The fat helps absorb quercetin, makes it more bioavailable. Onions with tomatoes. Sulfur compounds and lycopene working together, protecting DNA, preventing oxidation. This is why whole food patterns matter, why isolated supplements can't replicate food's effects. Onions with olive oil polyphenols. Olive oil contains oleocanthal, hydroxytyrosol, compounds that reduce inflammation, protect vessels, and when combined with onion compounds, the effects multiply. This is Mediterranean wisdom. This is why these foods are cooked together, eaten together. The tradition's new, the body knows. Science is just confirming. Onions with tomatoes and lycopene. Lycopene is fat-soluble, needs oil, needs cooking to be released from tomato cells. And onions, cooked with tomatoes, they provide sulfur compounds, provide quercetin. The combination protects against oxidative stress better than either alone, protects prostate tissue, cardiovascular tissue. This is synergy. This is food as pharmacy. Onions and garlic sulfur synergy, both alliums, both sulfur rich, but with different sulfur compounds, different profiles. Together they're stronger, more protective, more antimicrobial. This is why they're cooked together in so many cuisines, why they appear together in traditional medicine. The wisdom preceded the science, but the science confirms. Antiviral defenses. Onion compounds have been shown in laboratories, in cell cultures, to inhibit various viruses, influenza, rhinovirus, others. They interfere with viral replication, with viral entry into cells. This isn't treatment, it's prevention, it's immune support. It's making your terrain less hospitable to viral infection. Antibacterial effects, sulfur compounds, quercetin. They inhibit bacterial growth, disrupt bacterial membranes, interfere with bacterial metabolism. This is selective, affecting pathogenic bacteria more than beneficial ones. This selectivity, this intelligence, it's remarkable. It's why onions have been used medicinally for thousands of years, why they're in every traditional healing system. Fungal balance in gut. Your gut contains fungi, yeasts, usually in small amounts, usually controlled by bacteria, by immune system. But sometimes they overgrow, become problematic. Onion compounds help maintain balance, help prevent overgrowth, help support the bacterial species that compete with fungi. This is ecological management, maintaining diversity, maintaining balance, mucosal immunity, your mucous membranes, in gut, in respiratory tract. They're your first defense. They contain immune cells, antibodies, antimicrobial compounds. Onions support mucosal immunity, support IgA production, support barrier function. This is frontline defense, preventing pathogens from ever establishing, from ever penetrating deeper. Inflammation resolution. This is different from anti-inflammation. Resolution means actively ending inflammation, returning to homeostasis. Your body makes specialized pro-resolving mediators, lipoxins, resolvins, mericins, and onion compounds support this resolution. Help inflammation end appropriately. Help tissues return to normal function. This is sophisticated. This is healing. Cytokine balance, IL-6, TNF-alpha, IL-1 beta. These are inflammatory cytokines, necessary in acute infection, dangerous when chronically elevated, and anti-inflammatory cytokines, IL-10, TGF-beta, necessary for resolution, for tolerance. Onions help balance these, reduce inflammatory cytokines, support regulatory ones. This is immune homeostasis, immune peace, chronic disease prevention, most diseases of aging, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's. They share common roots: inflammation, oxidative stress, metabolic dysfunction. And onions address these roots, address underlying causes rather than symptoms. This is why they appear in longevity studies, in blue zone diets, in traditional healing. They prevent at the foundation immune aging and inflammaging. As you age, your immune system changes, becomes less effective at fighting infection, but more prone to attacking self, more inflammatory, chronically active. This is inflammaging, and it drives disease, drives frailty. Onions help counteract this, help maintain immune function, help reduce background inflammation. This is anti-aging at the immune level. Vascular health signaling. Your blood vessels are living tissue, responsive tissue. They sense flow, sense pressure, sense chemical signals, and they respond. They release nitric oxide. They contract, relax, remodel. Onions support healthy vascular signaling, support appropriate responses, maintain vascular intelligence. This keeps circulation optimal, keeps tissues well fed, well oxygenated, endothelial repair. When vessel walls are damaged by turbulent flow, by oxidized cholesterol, by inflammation, the endothelium can repair, can regenerate. Onion compounds support this repair, support endothelial progenitor cells, support the healing process. This is vascular resilience, vascular youth, maintained through daily nutrition, microcirculation, the tiny vessels, capillaries, where exchange happens, where oxygen leaves blood, where nutrients enter tissues. This is where life happens at the microscopic level. And onions improve microcirculation, improve capillary function, ensure tissues receive what they need, remove what they don't. This affects every organ, every cell. Platelet aggregation, platelets clotting, necessary for wound healing, dangerous when excessive, when they form clots in arteries. Onion compounds reduce excessive aggregation, make blood less sticky, reduce thrombosis risk. This is cardiovascular protection, stroke prevention, heart attack prevention, through simple dietary inclusion. Blood viscosity, how thick your blood is, how easily it flows, too thick. Circulation suffers, clot risk increases. Onions help maintain appropriate viscosity, help blood flow smoothly. This affects everything: energy levels, cognitive function, healing capacity. It's fundamental, foundational. Immune metabolic crosstalk, your immune system and metabolism. They're not separate, they communicate constantly. Immune activation affects metabolism, metabolic state affects immunity. Onions influence both, improve both, and therefore improve the communication between them. This is systems biology. This is understanding the body as interconnected whole. Gut immune axis. Most immune cells live in gut, surrounding gut, responding to what's in gut, to microbiome, to food. Onions work here, at this interface, feeding beneficial bacteria, modulating immune responses, strengthening barriers. This is why gut health is immune health, why food is medicine, brain inflammation, neuroinflammation. It's increasingly recognized as central to neurodegenerative diseases, to cognitive decline, to mood disorders. And onion compounds can cross blood-brain barrier, can reach brain tissue, can reduce neuroinflammation. This is neuroprotection, cognitive protection through daily eating. Neuroprotective flavonoids, quercetin especially. It protects neurons, reduces oxidative stress in brain, supports mitochondrial function in neurons. Neurons are vulnerable, they're metabolically active, long-lived, they accumulate damage. Onion compounds help protect them, help maintain function. This affects memory, affects cognition, affects mood. Microglial balance. Microglia are brain immune cells. They can be protective, clearing debris, supporting neurons, or they can be inflammatory, damaging. The balance matters, and onion compounds influence this balance, reduce pro-inflammatory activation, support protective functions. This is brain immune health, stress resilience, your ability to handle stress, physical, psychological, oxidative. This resilience, it's built, trained, supported. Onion compounds enhance stress resilience through hormesis, through antioxidant support, through immune modulation. They make you more robust, more adaptive, more capable. Cortisol modulation, stress hormone, necessary. But chronic elevation is damaging, ages tissues, suppresses immunity, impairs metabolism. Onions may help modulate cortisol, help maintain appropriate rhythms, This is HPA axis support, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the stress response system. Circadian metabolism. Your metabolism follows rhythms, daily rhythms. Eating time matters, sleeping time matters. And onions, eaten regularly, they may support healthy circadian rhythms, support appropriate metabolic cycling. This is chronobiology. This is eating in harmony with time, nutrient sensing pathways, mTOR, AMPK, sirtuins. These are the sensors. They detect nutrients, energy status, and adjust cellular behavior accordingly. Onion compounds influence these pathways, teach cells appropriate responses. This is metabolic intelligence, cellular intelligence, hormesis, the beneficial stress, the challenge that makes you stronger. Onion compounds provide this mild oxidative stress, mild cellular challenge, and cells respond by becoming more resilient, more capable. This is training, adaptation, growth through appropriate challenge. Onions as mild cellular stressors, not harmful stress, beneficial stress, activating defense systems, activating repair systems, making cells more prepared for real threats. This is how small doses of challenge create strength, how fasting works, how exercise works, how onion compounds work. Adaptive cellular response. Your cells can adapt, can change, can become more resistant, and food provides signals, provides triggers for adaptation. Onions trigger beneficial adaptations, trigger antioxidant production, trigger stress resistance proteins. This is cellular evolution, cellular learning, immune training, trained immunity. This is new concept. Innate immune cells can remember, can become more responsive after exposure to certain compounds. Onion compounds may contribute to this training, may enhance immune memory. This is building immune intelligence, immune capability, trained immunity in onions, exposing immune cells to onion compounds. It changes them, makes them more responsive, more capable. This is epigenetic. This is memory without genetic change. This is why consistent eating matters, why daily habits matter. They train your systems. Dietary diversity, eating many different plants, many colors, many families. This creates resilience, creates comprehensive support, covers more bases, provides more tools for your cells to use. Onions are one part, one important part of diverse healing diet, whole food medicine. This is the paradigm, not isolated compounds, not supplements replacing food, but actual food, complex, alive, synergistic. Onions exemplify this. They're not one compound, they're hundreds, working together, creating effects no single molecule could. Traditional healing diets. Ayurveda uses onions. Traditional Chinese medicine uses onions. Mediterranean diet includes onions. These systems, developed over millennia, through observation, through experience, they knew, and now science validates, confirms, explains what wisdom already knew. Modern nutritional science, it's catching up, understanding mechanisms, understanding pathways, but it's confirming ancient wisdom, confirming that simple foods, eaten regularly, have profound effects. Onions in clinical nutrition research showing benefits, showing mechanisms, showing why tradition chose them. Clinical nutrition research on onions, studies showing cardiovascular benefits, metabolic benefits, anti-cancer effects, immune support. It's accumulating, building, creating evidence base, making what was empirical, what was traditional, into what is validated, what is understood. And now, as you drift, as you float, as your breath slows and deepens, remember, your body is always healing, always working, always responding to what you give it. Onions, simple, humble, powerful. They speak to your cells in ancient languages, languages of sulfur and quercetin, of prebiotic fibers and anthocyanins. They tell your vessels to relax, your immune system to balance, your microbiome to flourish, your cells to protect themselves. The body keeps healing. Onions whisper instructions to cells and will keep drifting, floating together through health science. Let sleep come. Let healing continue. Let the wisdom of food work through the night. The body keeps healing. Onions whisper instructions to cells and will keep drifting, floating together through health science.